up, motherfuckers? It's the hater, and WrestleMania is over, motherfuckers. All right? I got a lot of new subscribers, but unfortunately, I'm going to have to wait till the next video to do subscriber shoutouts, only because it's WrestleMania. So we got a lot to talk about because WrestleMania was yesterday and today, and it was too big for just one night. And this video, I think, is going to be long as fuck because we have a lot to talk about, motherfuckers. All right? I don't know where to begin, man. I guess we'll begin at the beginning. You know what I'm saying? That's how we roll out here in the Hater channel. And once again, sorry for those of you that aren't going to get your shout out right now. You will get it in the next video. I promise. For anyone that's watching, we're very close to 500 subscribers, which is a big goal for your boy. So subscribe right now. Don't waste time. Do the right thing. Cucks. All right. Let's get to it. First up, I actually watched the opening match, the pre-show match, Cesaro versus Gulag. This match was about 5 minutes long. Nothing special here. The only cool spot was Cesaro finished it up with an airplane spin with no hands, and he dropped Gulag on his jobber ass and pinned him 1, 2, 3. So once we got that out of the way, it was time to start part 1, night 1, motherfucks, of WrestleMania 36. So first up, we have Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross versus the Bukaki Warriors, all right? So this match, I was watching with my girlfriend, and she was like, why are these Japanese girls screaming so much? She doesn't really watch wrestling, you know, but she's like, why are these girls screaming so much? And I told her, I said, babe, look, you're going to miss this screaming when it comes down to the other matches, because this is them just trying to hype shit up, right? Little did I know how garbage this night would have been. You know what I'm saying? This match was just a waste of time. You know what I mean? No one cares that Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross are the champs. Because I'm doing this video on night 2, I almost forgot that this match existed. You know, if someone asked me right after night 2, hey, tell me the night 1 card, this is one of the matches that I would certainly forget because it was forgettable. It was long, and it wasn't horrible in the sense that, like, you know, considering what we're dealing with here, it was all right. Like, Alexa Bliss is not a great wrestler. She's attractive, but she's not a great wrestler, let's be real. But she's better than Nikki Cross, who has nothing going for her. My girlfriend kept saying how fat Nikki Cross is. And I'm like, she's not even that fat. My girlfriend's like, no, she's fat. Yeah? They beat the Bukaki Warriors, who really have no business being in WWE anymore. For the very meaningless WWE Women's Tag Team Championships, literally no one gave a rat's ass. Just when you thought it couldn't get worse, Elias versus King Corbin. This feels like a SmackDown match. This is not a WrestleMania level match. As far as I know, there was no build to this. There was nothing to this, right? They have the match. Elias wins with a roll-up. Literally not one person gives a rat's ass. It wasn't good. It wasn't interesting. It wasn't fun. Next up, we have one of the matches that actually had some build. Becky Lynch versus Shayna Baszler. All right. Now, here's what I think about this match. The match actually wasn't completely horrendous, you know? They had some pretty good spots. They did some moves, you know what I mean? There was a few botches, of course. I mean, you can't expect much from a Becky Lynch match. But as far as it being a Becky Lynch match, I thought it was better than last year's main event. So there you have it. That's a positive, right? The fact that Shayna Baszler lost with essentially a roll-up. She countered the Kokita clutch like Christian did to Samoa Joe that one time by rolling back is annoying. Because Becky Lynch is supposed to be this dominant champion, right? And she couldn't like make, what's her face? Ronda Rousey tap out. She couldn't pin her after like an impact move. She had to like roll her up. And same shit this year. You know what I mean? If you're either gonna build her as this dominant champion, or you will like book her and present her as someone who barely wins her matches. You know what I mean? One or the other, motherfucks. At the same time, what's her face? Shayna Baszler, she just beat 5 women like it was nothing at the Elimination Chamber. You know, is the gap that severe? Is Becky Lynch really so much better than everyone that she can beat the girl that beat 5 people? No, fam. I don't like that at all. I didn't like the way this match was booked. Then next up, we had Sami Zayn versus Daniels. First, this was preceded by an interview with like Charlie Caruso, whatever the fuck her name is, interviewing Sami Zayn and the Artist Collective, whatever the fuck they're called, Nightmare Collective, who gives a rat's ass. My girlfriend immediately starts laughing her ass off. And I'm like, why are you laughing? She's like, she points to Sami Zayn and she says, babe, this guy cannot be a champion. You know, he looks like a plumber. These are her words, not mine. She's like, this guy, she just laughed the whole time. Like the entire match, she's just laughing at Sami Zayn. She's like, this guy cannot be a champion. I mean, look at him. He's like chubby. She was like going off on Sami Zayn. She was like, this guy sucks. You know what I mean? And I'm like, yeah, I couldn't really say anything. She's right. You know what I mean? The story of these two nights for your boy was embarrassment that I watch wrestling. I'm not going to lie to you. This was a horrible WrestleMania, but we'll get to that at the end when I do my little rant, motherfucks. Next up, we had easily the best match of night one, in my opinion. John Morrison versus Jimmy Uso versus Kofi Kingston. Now, this match was tight. And the reason it was tight is because there were a lot of good spots, very few botches, and an entertaining finish. The finish was they're all holding on to the gold thing that holds the titles, and John Morrison falls back and grabs the actual belts, right? And he wins by virtue of having the belts. He didn't really do a good job because he only held on to one of them, but whatever, the point was made, right? The point was made that while these guys were trying to wrestle the gold ring thing away from each other, John Morrison took the creative approach. Not only that, but John Morrison did this like almost like an inverted Starship Pain off the post, which was sick as shit. Kofi Kingston did a springboard. It was kind of like a botched Hurricane Rana, but it was to John Morrison who was on a ladder, so he gets a pass for this one. This was a great effort by Kofi. And Jimmy Uso did really well as well. Now, with that being said, let's talk about the bullshit that this match like leads you to believe, right? First of all, it was supposed to be a six-man match. I'm glad it wasn't because it wasn't as busy, and I think it was better this way. Who the fuck knows? I'm sure Big E would have had some good power spots, and I'm sure the other Uso would have done the same things that this Uso did, you know? But the one thing that I will say that is annoying about WrestleMania recently in general is the fact that there are no real stars. There are no real stars, motherfuckers. I mean, we've talked about this like a lot, but during WrestleMania season, this becomes very evident. At the end of the day, we have Daniel Bryan, who 6 years ago, he should only get better, but 6 years ago, he beat Batista and Orton, right? And then last month, he's fighting Drew Gulak in like a random 30-minute match in Elimination Chamber, right? Now he's teaming with Drew Gulak to fight Sami Zayn. You know, this guy went from the main event 6 years ago, albeit, and even last year he was in the championship match, to wrestling Sami Zayn for the IC title. This is inconsistent with how he's presented. You know what I mean? Like, you would never see Batista coming back and fighting for the US title. He's too big of a deal. That's why Daniel Bryan is and never has been a real star, motherfucks. That's the truth. I speak truths up in this. You know what I mean? But the worst culprit was this ladder match, because this really pointed it out. This really pointed out that Kofi Kingston is the jobber that we all knew he always was. Let's be real, motherfuckers. Kofi Kingston has like a huge build to WrestleMania last year, and he wins the title at WrestleMania. Now, the next year, he's in a great match, but a meaningless three-way ladder match for the SmackDown Tag Team titles. Do you understand what I'm saying? This would be the equivalent of, let's say, The Rock beating Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania, or Stone Cold beating The Rock at WrestleMania. You know what I mean? And then the next year, Stone Cold, after beating The Rock for the title at last year's WrestleMania, the next year, we have a triple threat ladder match. Stone Cold versus Devon versus Al Snow. You know what I mean? And then Stone Cold loses that match to Al Snow. That's what happened here. Kofi Kingston, the guy who became the world champion last year, lost to John Morrison. Now, John Morrison is not a bad wrestler, and Jimmy Uso did impress me, and so did Kofi Kingston. But the facts speak for themselves. Like, this did not happen back in the day when wrestlers were real stars. You know, when someone, and I'm going to get to this in the Undertaker match because that's a good parallel, but this did not happen when people were legitimate stars. You would never see Undertaker like 1 year fighting for, you know, the world title, and then the next year fighting for the European Championship. That just wouldn't happen. You know what I mean? The European Championship was reserved for the undercard. The Intercontinental title was reserved for the midcard, and the world title was reserved for the handful of people that were champions. There's nothing wrong with having The Rock win the Royal Rumble again. There's nothing wrong with having Stone Cold win it again, or having HBK win it twice in a row. If that's all you got, you have them win it twice in a row. You don't fabricate new bullshit stars like Seth Rollins, who then next year are in the mid card again. You know what I mean? You have to create people that are main eventers. Now, I understand that it's hard to reconcile this idea with my philosophy that WWE cannot afford to make any more stars, because when they do, the stars leave for other things and they lose out on a lot of resources that they've invested on the star. However, this does not mean that Drew McIntyre, I mean, I like Drew McIntyre, don't get me wrong, right? But I fear the same thing's going to happen to him. Next year at WrestleMania, best believe, it'll be Drew McIntyre versus like Eric Rowan or some bullshit for like in a hardcore match. It's gonna be a meaningless match. You understand what I'm saying? And it'll be like Tommaso Ciampa will win the Rumble. Hopefully not, but something like that's gonna happen. You know, all of a sudden these people that were stars last year are mid-carders. What happened? What changed? You know, and it's one thing if some of them did that, but almost all of them. This happens to almost all of them except for Brock Lesnar. You know, Brock Lesnar is the only consistent star and Undertaker, and they're both part-timers. And Goldberg, I guess, but Goldberg is like a way part-timer. You know, he might not be around for the next 3 years. Who the fuck knows? But next up, we had Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins, and I actually enjoyed this match. I'm not gonna lie. Now, this was, in my opinion, the most meaningless of all the matches in night one. You know, but I did enjoy it because it ended with a DQ, and I was like, oh my god, this is so stupid. They're gonna end a WrestleMania match with a DQ. People want some finality, you know, and I was already dreading the possibility of this match continuing onto Raw. You know, this feud continuing once again, which it still might. Who the fuck knows? But then Owens is like, not this way, Seth. Like, let's continue it in a no DQ match. Now, this was good, and it was good for one reason only, because it actually told a slight story. The story here, like last time on Raw, the story was that Owens has never had, quote-unquote, a WrestleMania moment. I mean, he beat Jericho for the U.S. title, but they don't even count that because it's like a useless belt. And then Seth Rollins, he kept saying that he is a god at WrestleMania. And that's a good argument because Seth Rollins has had great WrestleMania moments, you know? And Kevin Owens tried to retcon it and say like, oh, Seth, you've always cheated in those moments. No, he didn't. He didn't cheat when he beat Brock Lesnar last year. I mean, he blowed him. But that was part of the storyline because Brock Lesnar was being a little shit. And then he cashed in the Money in the Bank, which is not ethical, but he didn't cheat. It's part of the rules, you know? So, there you have it, you know? And Seth Rollins also beat Triple H, I believe, at a WrestleMania. So, Seth Rollins has had a substantially large amount of WrestleMania moments, considering his relatively young age as a wrestler, you know what I mean? So, that was the story. Kevin Owens was like, yo, I want a WrestleMania moment, and more importantly, I want to deny you a WrestleMania moment, right? Because I don't think you've had any. So, when Rollins DQ'd himself, the premise, the subtext is that Rollins has now once again robbed Kevin Owens, or fate has once again robbed Kevin Owens from his WrestleMania moment, which he deserved to have. You understand what I'm saying? And instead of that happening, the match continued in a no DQ match, and Kevin Owens got his WrestleMania moment. Now, he didn't get it by beating Rollins. Who gives a fuck about that? He got it by diving off the WrestleMania sign onto the table, which was cool. I enjoyed that a lot. The match itself wasn't great, but that moment and the slight subversive, what's the word I'm looking for? Subversive? Yeah, something like that. Storytelling was legit. I really enjoyed that. Next up, we had Braun Strowman, who didn't earn this match, who didn't pay his dues. This guy does not deserve to be Universal Champion. He beat Goldberg in about 2 minutes. Now, this was the story of WrestleMania. A lot of bullshit was going on, right? So he beat Goldberg. Considering the fact that Braun Strowman just hopped into this as a replacement, it feels stupid. It feels dumb. Braun Strowman has consistently lost to the big stars. Consistently has lost to Brock Lesnar. Consistently has lost to I think Bray Wyatt. Consistently has lost to everyone that is worth losing to. This guy is a loser. He has lost every match, and now he beats Goldberg, who beat The Fiend, etc., etc. Finally, we had The Undertaker versus AJ Styles Boneyard match. While I was watching this, I predicted the entrance exactly how it happened. As soon as I saw the hearse, I was like, no. Undertaker's coming in with a bike. And I'm like, AJ Styles is in the hearse. So AJ Styles comes out of the coffin all cocky and shit. Taker comes out on a bike. Thus far, we're doing great. That was great. Then this match just devolves into a comedy act, right? It wasn't supposed to be presented as such, but that's how it came off. People are teleporting, like the Druids come out and attack Undertaker for some reason, which wasn't explained. I mean, obviously you're not going to explain that in the match, but you understand what I'm saying? Undertaker's beating up like 19 people. Undertaker looked great, I'm not going to lie. The attire looked good on him. The return of the American Badass, kind of. It was like a mix of American Badass and like regular Undertaker. That was cool. There were a lot of cool moments in this match, like the tombstone on the roof, the inevitable chokeslam off the barn, which I predicted as well, obviously, right? But overall, this was not a good segment. I know a lot of people are saying this is great, but I have to be consistent. I'm the only one up in this bitch, not even that asshole Dave Meltzer. I'm one of the only motherfucks that says it like it is every single time. If you think that Matt Hardy teleporting around and having V1, the drone, is retarded, then you have to think that this too is retarded. It does not get a pass just because it involved The Undertaker and AJ Styles. AJ Styles beat the shit out of Undertaker. He hit him with a cinder block. There were moments in this match that were legit, right? But then he threw him in the grave, and Taker just teleports behind him and then beats his ass and buries him. You know, what the fuck? Now, I understand Undertaker's been teleporting for years. You know, he's been calling up fire and creating signs for years. I get that, right? But in my opinion, they did not go full out on the fact that he is back to being the dead man. And he's breaking kayfabe left and right. You know, he's like, what's my wife's name? Who am I? How old am I? Right? It came off as cheesy and goofy. And the music, it was like Old West dueling music. Like Gallows and Harrison show up, they're like, we're not done yet, Taker. And he beats the shit out of them, right? And there's this dumbass music playing in the background. I understand the music of Undertaker, like coming in and coming out on the bike. That's like his entrance music, basically, right? I understand that. But everything else is goofy as shit. So if you think that there's no room in wrestling for teleportation, which I can't even believe I'm saying this. This is so preposterously retarded that this should be like common sense. Teleportation should not exist in wrestling, which is presented as a quasi, serious sport. It's presented as a real medium. If you want to go full out, then what's to prevent, fucking Goldust and Stardust coming back to WWE, right, and shooting people with laser guns? Why the fuck not? You know what I'm saying? This guy can teleport. If we can just make shit up, he can teleport, I can turn into a dragon. Oh, he turned into a dragon and ate The Undertaker. What the fuck? Also, how are you going to explain when AJ Styles returns? You know, how are you going to go beyond this? Right? This seemed like the last wrestling show ever. It was like, yo, we're going to end everything here. AJ Styles is now buried alive. It's one thing to bury Undertaker and then he comes back because he's The Undertaker. You know, that's enough suspension of disbelief, right? To be like, oh, okay, Undertaker somehow found a way out. You don't have to explain that. But AJ Styles is a normal guy. At the end of the day, Undertaker can teleport. You know? So what the fuck? But the actual execution of the match was also garbage. You know, I did not sign up for a B-level, independent Netflix movie. I signed up for wrestling, motherfuckers. Undertaker is a wrestler. He's not an actor. You know, I wanted to see, I was thinking, why wouldn't AJ Styles climb? Remember when they were on the top of the barn? There was another roof on top. AJ Styles should have climbed on top of that and jumped down to the lower platform, not all the way down, motherfuckers, but to the lower platform of the roof and done a phenomenal forearm. At least incorporate the wrestling moves a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying do chain wrestling, but do a suplex here, a suplex there, an arm drag, you know what I mean? A hip toss, things of that nature, you know? Like pick people up, do these things. But Undertaker did a few wrestling moves, mostly the Gallows and Anderson, and he chokeslammed AJ Styles. But this match was too brawlish and too ridiculous in my opinion. Now, this match in and of itself was not complete garbage. I mean, I thought it was retarded, but this would have a good spot on a nice anniversary of Raw, like Raw 2000th episode, something like that. It would have a nice spot on that. But this is not something that should ever go into a WrestleMania. This, however, will be remembered as a good match because it did bring back the American Badass Undertaker, and it did kind of have some moments where you're like, that's cool. You know, like when Undertaker rode out and Undertaker's sign, came on, that one you're like, oh, that's cool. You know what I mean? But this is just an example of in my opinion, catering to smarks. You know, this is some smart nonsense. You know, oh, Undertaker, his wife is Michelle McCool. Let's talk about that. Oh, he can shoot fire, and let's make it goofy. You know, because it's goofy, motherfuckers. Undertaker teleporting is goofy. So I know a lot of people really like this match, but in my opinion, a lot of them are deluding themselves. Some people, of course, liked it. I'm not saying that everyone's deluded and everyone's a mark, but this was a very smarky match. And if you like this, there is a possibility that you are a smart. This was weird, motherfuckers. This was weird, and I did not enjoy it overall. Now, did I enjoy it more than a lot of other things? Damn right I did. I enjoyed it more than Elias and Baron Corbin. Fuck yeah. But I did not enjoy it more than Morrison, Uso, and Kofi Kingston. And I did not enjoy it more than a lot of the matches, if I'm being honest, you know? But now let's move on to night 2, motherfuckers. The first match is Liv Morgan versus Natalya on the pre-show. This match was useless. Liv Morgan won. Who gives a fuck? this is a match that wouldn't even be on Raw. This is a match that this is literally a dark match on Raw. You know what I mean? No one cares about any one of these two broads. Natalia has been overrated for like a decade and a half. And Liv Morgan, I'm not gonna lie to you. Everyone keeps saying she's so hot. I don't see it, motherfucks. She's got a frog face. She looked like she got frog eyes, motherfucks. So that's what I think about Liv Morgan. Oh, live to be free. Get the fuck out of here, dumb bitch. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that was the pre-show. Now on to the main card, motherfuckers. Now, the next match, a little bit of a surprise. I didn't expect this match to be the opener. It was Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley. Now, this match, everybody knows how I feel about this match. I don't like the fact that Charlotte Flair is going after the NXT title. However, all things considered, this was not a bad match. The right person won. Now, again, this doesn't mean it was a great match, but it was not bad. It was better than a lot of the matches that we saw the night before, and a lot of the matches that we saw in this pay-per-view in this second night as well. So, I don't have anything bad to say about this match other than the fact that I don't think it needed to be there, but it wasn't complete garbage either, you know. Next up, we had Aleister Black versus Bobby Lashley. This match sucked ass. The one thing I liked about this match was that in the end, Bobby Lashley had Aleister Black defeated, basically. He was going to hit the Yokosuka cutter on him, but Lana was like, spear him. So he drops him, blows Lana a kiss, goes to the spear, black mass to the face, gets pinned 1, 2, 3. So hopefully this leads to Lashley being separated from Lana, because Lashley is awesome. Lashley is great. He's so underrated, it is criminal. Lashley, if Lashley had won the Rumble instead of Drew McIntyre, I think it would be better. Lashley versus Lesnar is better than Lashley versus Drew McIntyre. But that's neither here nor there, motherfucks. The match itself was garbage. Aleister Black, he's not fun. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? Next up, we had Otis versus Dolph Ziggler. This was pretty cool. I enjoyed this. Otis is fun. He's charming, and he's charismatic in his own way. I enjoy Otis. Dolph Ziggler, I think this is his first ever singles match at WrestleMania. So good for him. He finally made it. You know what I'm saying? Sonya Deville was out with Dolph Ziggler. She was looking great. So I enjoyed that. Not enjoyed it in that way, but enjoyed the fact that she was his valet. You know what I mean? Like, that they really did actively incorporate her into the storyline now. So she distracts Otis as Otis is going for the Caterpillar. Dolph Ziggler low blows him and is getting ready to win. Mandy Rose comes out, beats up Sonya Deville, jumps in the ring, and seamlessly delivers a low blow onto the nutsack of Dolph Ziggler, who then falls prey to the Caterpillar and gets pinned. Otis leaves with the girl. All right, that was good because it had a storyline. The match itself, I don't give a rat's ass about. It's not like Otis is going to be doing all these great moves, but it was fun. Next up, Edge versus Randy Orton, okay? This match, let's be real, was a disappointment. This match was garbage. It was not a good match. You know, once again, you have Edge, who's making his return, and you have Orton. Both of these guys are like legendary wrestlers. They both know how to wrestle, and they've both wrestled with each other a million times. So what do? You have them fight in the gym at the Performance Center. This match was like a walking tour of the Performance Center. Every time they go to a new room, fucking Tom Phillips or whatever his name is, was like, well, that's the Performance Center storage area. Well, that's where they keep the bottles of water. Well, that's where they fuck each other in the ass. You know what I'm saying? Everything had like an explanation. I'm just like, dude, I don't care about that. Like, I'm cool with them brawling backstage for a little bit, but then it should go into the ring so they can do cool things in the ring. Like some dive attacks, some clotheslines, off the rope type shit, suplexes, things that you can't do outside. All they did was punch each other in the head and slam each other against walls. This is a match that I and one of my friends could have had. Nothing here. There was no talent needed from a wrestling perspective to have this match. The match found its way up to the back part of a truck. They climbed up there, and Edge speared Orton. I thought he was going to spear him off, but then Orton came back with 2 chairs. So obviously Edge was going to hit the concerto. He did, and the ref counted to 10. Edge wins. I did not enjoy this at all. This was garbage. Next, another match that surprised me. Street Profits versus Angel Garza and Austin Theory. Earlier today in the pre-show, they had this bald guy both days. I don't know who the fuck this guy is, but I hate him. He keeps saying dumb shit. He's like, have you seen anything more charismatic than the Street Profits? Yes. First of all, Angelo Dawkins has 0 charisma. So that right there, their maximum charisma as a team is 50%. if Montez had 100% charisma. And he does not, motherfuckers. Montez Ford is just a goof. However, I will say that in this match, a goof was a benefit. He was screaming. He was losing his mind. He was acting like there was a crowd there. Because that's kind of his thing, you know, to hype up the crowd. He's a hype man. So he did that. Austin Theory, I couldn't give a fuck about this guy. Don't care at all. Angel Garza, I mean, this guy's also a jobber. He shouldn't be in WrestleMania, but yet here we are. The match ended after Austin Theory hit the TKO. It looked like shit, but he hit it on Angelo Dawkins. And then Montez Ford hit like a springboard from the heavens, a.k.a. the Frog Splash, onto, what's-his-face, Austin Theory, and turned Angelo Dawkins around. He pinned him. After the match, the heels start beating up the faces. Zelina Vega kicks Montez in the face. Bianca Belair comes out. That was a good little moment. Hopefully it leads to her just going to Raw, you know what I mean, and being with them, as opposed to just like being on NXT still, you know what I mean? I hope it means something, you know? So that was that. It was more enjoyable than I would have thought. This was a match that I did not want to see at all. And I'm not saying it was great, but it was more enjoyable than it should have been. Next up, we had a very long, very bad, and very boring women's elimination match. This was one of the worst matches I've ever seen in my entire life. This match was garbage, motherfuckers. This was the worst, I think the worst match of both nights. This match was just boring as shit. First of all, they presented it as if Tamina was going to do something. We all know Tamina is never going to achieve anything of value. So, so who the fuck cares? You know what I'm saying? Tamina got her ass whooped eventually after a 4-on-1. And then the next one to go was, I think, Naomi. Yeah, Naomi. And then Becky Lynch, what the fuck's her name? Sasha Banks gets punched in the face by Lacey Evans and gets pinned. And then she comes back, attacks Lacey Evans. Bayley gets the win in a very boring and uneventful match. Then we had the last two matches. Pretty much, not the only two matches, but two matches that I really was looking forward to. You know what I mean? I always look forward to anything that involves John Cena because we don't see him around as much. And of course, I always look forward to the winner of the Rumble versus the champion. And I especially look forward to Brock Lesnar. So, let's get started. First of all, The Fiend versus John Cena. This was, I don't give a fuck what anyone says. This was the worst thing I've ever seen in wrestling history. I'm not even exaggerating. This was a Smarks wet dream. If you found yourself watching this and thinking, oh, that's great, they're comparing Cena to Hulk Hogan and Bray Wyatt to Eric Bischoff, then I don't even know what to tell you. This was garbage. First of all, it starts with John Cena coming out to the arena, so it gets my hopes up. I'm like, oh, this is going to be an actual match. You know, no tomfoolery, right? He comes out, and then Bray Wyatt appears on the screen, and he's like, Cena, this is the Firefly Funhouse. And Cena gets teleported there. You know, all of a sudden, more teleportation. Everyone has magical powers now, motherfuckers. So Cena goes there, he goes in the ring, and we see this career retrospective of Cena. This was cool only because John Cena was making fun of himself. This entire segment was Cena making fun of himself and putting over Bray Wyatt, who, in my opinion, now is in the running for worst character in the history of wrestling. And honestly, worst character in the history of fiction. I am not even exaggerating. Bray Wyatt is not good, motherfuckers. Unfortunately, he's great in the ring, but he, as a character, is not well thought out and only caters to the smarts. Everyone that, oh, it's great, he has a puppet of Vince McMahon with horns. It's not clever. That's not clever. It's stupid. It's on the same level as Luke Gallows eating a steak and pretending he's Vince McMahon. What the fuck are you talking about? This was garbage. It was horrible. Like, they're supposed to have a match, and Cena is like having fun with him. They're lifting weights, and Cena's like unaware of what's happening, right? And then in the end was kind of like, it was almost like a full circle, right? Because Cena beat Bray Wyatt 6 years ago, and like I guess they don't want people to feel like Bray Wyatt was buried back then, which he obviously was. You know, that's one of the few times that Cena actually did bury someone. You know, and I'm not saying Bray Wyatt didn't deserve to get buried. I think he did, but he did bury him. Cena did bury him, and now they wanted to kind of like retcon this as like, oh, it wasn't like, you know, he buried him, but like now Bray Wyatt is getting his comeuppance. And it cut back, like while he had Cena in the Sister Abigail, like, you know what I mean? Like you had like a voiceover, and it was Cena, I guess, on SmackDown saying like WrestleMania will mark the end of one of the most overrated wrestlers of all time, right? And Cena was talking about Bray Wyatt, but haha, joke's on us. And the irony was that we were talking about Cena, and Cena was the one that was eliminated from WWE because after Bray Wyatt hit the Sister Abigail and reapplied the fucking mandible claw, like normal-looking Bray Wyatt came out, counted to 3, and Cena disappeared. Literally disappeared. And that was the end of that. Then it cut to Titus O'Neil being like, I don't know what the hell I just saw. And that's exactly how I felt. Now, some of my friends were texting me, and they were saying this was great, and some of them were rationalizing it as if they're like retarded. They're like, anything can happen in the Firefly Funhouse. Now, I know my friend that said that was joking around, but the facts remain. That was not good. Well, the Firefly's Funhouse match is retarded. I thought it was going to be like just like a brawl in the back, but it wasn't. It was the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. It was atrocious. It was horrendous, and Cena pretty much got beat by one move. That's what happened, motherfuckers. Nothing good happened in this match. Nothing funny happened. Nothing clever happened. Bray Wyatt pretending he's Kurt Angle and Bray Wyatt pretending he's Eric Bischoff is not smart and it's not clever. And if you're a normal person, like my girlfriend who never watched wrestling, doesn't really watch it, she was standing there, she's like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. And how can someone who's not a complete mark or a smart get behind this? How can they? You know what I mean? This is only for people that know that Hulk Hogan went to WCW. What about the rest of the people that don't know that? What are they thinking? They're thinking, oh my God, what the fuck is happening here? I thought this was wrestling. I thought this was wrestling, motherfucks. Are you kidding me? Like, is there anything left? This is AEW level shit. Honestly, this makes AEW look like WWE of days old. AEW at least, at least AEW is grounded to a degree. You know, they're grounded to a degree. Like, there's dumb shit that happens. But at the end of the day, the match is a match. You know what I mean? And it's cool. You can have like a final deletion here and there. And there's nothing wrong with having, like the match they had, the Firefly Funhouse segment. Once again, if this was done on a throwaway episode of SmackDown, fine, do it. But you advertised John Cena, motherfuckers. You advertised John Cena to me. You know, I did not get John Cena. That's the biggest bullshit of this. At least in the Undertaker match, we got a match. Like Undertaker fought AJ Styles. In this thing, we didn't even get a match. Do you understand how stupid that is? We didn't even get a match. John Cena came out a couple weeks ago on SmackDown. He had his big return. And he was like, I'm not going to take a spot from someone on the card. And then Bray Wyatt's like, me versus you at WrestleMania. And that didn't happen, motherfuckers. That did not happen. What happened was some pre-taped garbage that, in my opinion, has tarnished Cena when he returns. How can he return and not address this? Bray Wyatt is not going to be a big deal ever, motherfuckers. He's never going to be a big deal. Especially after this. After this, there is no way that Bray Wyatt can be good. And I think one of my neighbors just yelled at me, but I couldn't tell. I should have closed the window. I really fucked up. But we're almost done anyways. Next up, the last match was Drew McIntyre versus Brock Lesnar. I don't even know what to say about this match. You know what I'm saying? I really don't know what to say about this match. I mean, obviously, I think we all knew that this was going to happen. There was no way around that. It was definitely going to go down the way it went down. But let's be real, motherfuckers. Let's be real. This match was a 7 or 8 move match. You know what I mean? Like, the match started, like, it was like every other Brock Lesnar match when he doesn't give a fuck, you know? Like, just like last year's match with Seth Rollins. Brock Lesnar does his moves, and even though Brock Lesnar is presented as a tough guy, in the sense that he's someone that can take a finisher, because he took the Claymore, and then McIntyre went for the pin, and one of the announcers was like, oh my God, Lesnar kicked out. No one kicks out of, what's it called? Of the Claymore, you know? And I'm just like, okay, Brock Lesnar kicks out of moves, but he also never counters or dodges them. He just stands there like an ass and just takes the move, you know? So the match was basically Lesnar does a few suplexes and a bunch of shit. Then he hits the F5. Goes for a pin, 1 count, does the F5, pin, 2 count, does the F5, pin, 2 count. Drew McIntyre gets up, counters like another F5, I think, hits the Claymore, and then hits like 3 more Claymores because he hit one in the beginning too, and then pins Brock Lesnar. And I'm just like, dude, this guy won the world title at WrestleMania at the main event with 4 moves. 4 moves this motherfucker did. And you tell me, oh, Cena has 3 moves. Drew McIntyre just won the WrestleMania main event. There's only been 36 WrestleMania main events. And I don't count what happened on night one. Like AJ Styles did not close the show. I like AJ Styles, but let's be real. That's not what happened. The real main event was Drew McIntyre versus Brock Lesnar. Night 2 is obviously more important than night 1. So the problem here is that this guy won the title, the most prestigious title in wrestling, with one move 4 times. Now you tell me if that's a good match. You tell me, motherfucks, if that's a good match. If that's even a moment. Like, what the hell, man? Brock Lesnar, he just comes in, takes 3 curb stomps, loses. At least last year, they had the sense, they had the intelligence of putting that match first. You understand what I'm saying? They put the match first because they knew that you cannot close the show with this. You just can't. You can't close the show with a guy beating a guy in 3 minutes. You know what I mean? Or 5 minutes, whatever the fuck it was. So in my opinion, night 2 was even worse than night 1. It made the Undertaker AJ Styles match look decent in comparison. But in reality, motherfucks, in reality, this was a bad show. These 2 nights were horrible. It's almost like because of the coronavirus, they decided that they're going to do other things. They're going to try dumb shit, and that's what they did. And that was inexcusable. Now, on to the second point. How do we recover from this? The answer has, in my opinion, there are only 2 options. Option 1, we will never recover from this. You know what I'm saying? This will go down by far as the worst WrestleMania. Nothing that we saw today will ever be in anyone's highlight package, except maybe Drew McIntyre. And it'll just be him holding up a title. It won't be anything more than that because of the lack of audience, etc. But how do we recover? Either we don't recover, or we do the only other thing that makes sense. And the only other thing that makes sense is we have someone come out, like once coronavirus ends, and we have like, I don't know, someone comes out, like let's say, I don't know, who could it be? Let's say we have Stone Cold, right? Stone Cold comes out and he says, you know what? Wrestling has become stupid. We can't tolerate this anymore. And then he pretty much resets wrestling as like none of that shit that happened is ever going to happen again. We are now going to take it seriously. Now, I don't want to sound like a retard. Oh, I'll take it seriously. It's real to me. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that at least present it as quasi-relevant, right? It's one thing, like I'll give you this analogy to explain it. I don't particularly like things that are supernatural, right? I'm not attracted to that in movies and TV shows. However, Lost, Walking Dead, these types of shows are shows that I consider to be decent. Like, I don't think Walking Dead is like the greatest, show ever, like a lot of people say. But I've watched it, and I can say that it is at least a decent enough show. Why? Even though it has the supernatural element of zombies, you are introduced to the supernatural element of zombies off the jump. Episode 1, boom, there are zombies, motherfuckers. The end. Now imagine if you were watching Sons of Anarchy, right? And about season 5, vampires appear. Imagine that shit. Would you not think that that's the dumbest thing you've ever seen in your life? Of course you would. Because it would be the dumbest thing you've ever seen in your life. You can't do that. You either introduce zombies, or later on, you don't introduce zombies, or you just leave it as it is. You understand what I'm saying? Like, one of the reasons why I stopped watching Walking Dead is because I watched the first season, and I was like, oh, this is intriguing. There's all these groups that want to have, like, the throne, right? They have a claim, different claims, some stronger than others, but different claims to the throne. And the question is, who will become the person that becomes king or queen, right? That's inherently compelling. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, what's going to happen? The politics, the murders, the coups, the things of that nature. But does that continue to be compelling if dragons are introduced? I ask you, because I don't know. Because for me, when the blonde girl got those 3 dragon eggs, I thought to myself, oh, they're symbolic. Like, she's going to use them to, like, trade, right? She's going to give, like, someone, like, oh, look, I have a dragon egg. This means that you have to follow me, right? Which is kind of what happens. But then the dragons hatch into real dragons. And I was like, whoa, I did not sign up for this fantasy shit. Now, if in the first episode dragons were flying around, I'd be like, all right, I'll give it a shot. But you cannot just introduce dragons to something and expect people like me, who did not sign up for it, to continue like an idiot. Be like, oh, dragons. You understand what I'm saying? And that's the issue here, Cups. That's the real issue. You know what I mean? That's what I gotta say about that. Today, we were introduced to dragons and vampires in the form of the Firefly Funhouse match, which was borderline retarded. That's what I gotta say about that. And with that being said, this has been your WrestleMania review, the full show review. This will go down by far as the worst WrestleMania ever. And I cannot believe I'm saying this, but I am looking forward to what AEW does next, because this crap is unwatchable. For the first time ever, if it wasn't for the fact that I have the Hater channel, I would not watch Raw tomorrow. That's how much I don't give a fuck. Because I don't care how they reconcile any of this. You cannot mention Undertaker and Bray Wyatt as characters for the next few weeks. You have to let people forget, oh, this happened, that happened. The announcers are not going to be like, oh, the Boneyard match was great. They can't say that because it's embarrassing, motherfuckers. It's embarrassing that this is what wrestling has become. And with that, I bid you guys good night. I tell you to stay dirty, and I tell you to wash your ass. But more importantly, subscribe, motherfuckers.